What's good, people? Welcome to another episode of my Immigrant Diary, the podcast where we talk about real immigration stories, the wins, the struggles, the confusions, and the glow ups. My name is Precious.
And my name is Wally.
Awesome, Wally. So, Wally, how have you been? It's been a minute.
It's been good. I've been good. I've been very worried or concerned about what's been going on in the world lately. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the war in Iran, and the thing about the Iran situation is that it just affects everywhere. Iran has a lot of relationship with multiple countries where most people do have families in. That's one thing, and the oil crisis is a natural consequences of a war of the war with Iran, and that means that inflation is going to likely go out of control for some countries. A lot of people are going to be concerned. I also have family. Well, my family doesn't live with me in the United States, but they're also concerned that we will actually be experiencing some bombs. So, which we there are some incidents that has happened related to the war, but we will. I think we will cover that later down the line.
So, Wally, I understand and I get you. I mean, there's a lot of concern with the war right now. But for today, today's episode is titled The Great Reset. We're looking at how immigration landscape is changing. We're looking at the shift. We're looking at the impact of the war and just so many things that we want to talk about. So let's jump right into it. Starting off, DC, the nation's capital in America. Restaurants across Washington, D.C. are bracing for a major shakeup as federal authorities begin auditing I-9 employment paperwork at nearly 190 businesses. For many in the hospitality industry, this is creating a wave of anxiety. And the reason is simple. The restaurant world in DC runs heavily on immigrant labor. These aren't just businesses, they are kitchens, dining rooms, an entire restaurant team built by immigrants. With the Department of Homeland Security ramping up enforcement, many restaurant owners feared they could lose a large portion of their workforce overnight.
Yes, it is definitely concerning for especially those who would be directly affected, and the business owners. Definitely, the economy of the restaurant if I understand this correctly, it's mostly the hospitality industry in DC that this is going to affect, and probably I can guess that it's going to be a similar situation with the hospitality industry across the nation. So there's a huge thing. There's a big reason to be concerned and worried in that aspect. But I think one of the things that we can probably let me go back a little bit. I think when I first saw this headline, my thought was I would never expect this kind of thing to happen in DC, especially, which is where the HQ of ICE and HSI and all the Homeland Security departments that is responsible for immigration enforcement is located at. So I totally was not expecting that until I started to learn that this is actually a sanctuary city, so to speak. So that's one thing. Because I think my thinking is that because of the sanctuary states of DC, then that allows for a lot of room for people who might not be properly documented to live and work in DC. Now, where this I-9 comes in, it means that if I understand if I'm going to interpret what the government is trying to do correctly, it means that they've already approved all these people. Now they are reviewing the I-9 applications again to make sure that everyone has a proper authority to remain in the United States. If you remember, there was a case where, actually 2 cases, people who didn't have their documentation, they were approved to work for police departments in a couple of cities. I think one was Haitian, if I remember, but one was definitely a black man. One was a white man from Europe. And both of them had the same situation where they didn't have their document, but their I-9 application went through. So the I-9 application is basically what the government is going to certify. This person is approved to be able to work in the United States. But for whatever reason, there was a miscommunication or something just didn't work right in the government system that they missed it and the approval was done. It wasn't until those guys were flagged for when they were, if you're in law enforcement, you issued a firearm. So it wasn't until when they were flagged that, oh, these guys are not supposed to have any kind of firearm because they don't have any legal documentation to live in the United States. That was when the ICE now went in and started taking HSI took over. They arrested them. I think probably they've deported them by now. So you have, I think that this is an effort from the federal government to make sure that things are working correctly. But it is, at the same time, it's also a very, very big concern, especially if you have been approved previously. You feel like, oh, you've done everything correctly and you're fine. And now the government is saying, no, we are actually going to deport you if it gets to that stage, right?
Yeah, Wally, I hear you on that because, it's a very, very concerning situation. A lot of those businesses depend heavily on immigrants. So with this kind of crackdown, a lot of the workforce will be lost, which will affect the culture of the city. This is an amazing city. I've been to DC several times. I go to DC often. I'm the DMV. I sometimes go to see DC United games, going to see some events. Like, this is just a city rich in culture, and one of the major culture in DC is the restaurants, is the hospitality industry, right? And so this impact will really be felt, and it's quite fortunate that this is happening, because having authority to work has now been proven as not enough, because having the right documentation to stay is different now. We're beginning to understand, and as it's always been like that, but the crackdown just makes it obvious. But hey, it is what it is right now.
And
So
basically, what it means for you as an immigrant that's working in this hospitality industry is something, first of all, to expect this kind of scrutiny, to be prepared for it. I don't think it's wise to let things happen before you now take an action. Always have a course of plan for the course of action that you're going to take before things like this happen. So be prepared. Don't know what your personal situation is. If you can make sure that all your documents are correct, and when those things happen, you can always make plans for if the government says, no, you don't have the right documentation. If you have a plan early, you'll be able to deal with the challenges that might come in the future a lot better.
All right, Wally. Moving on. While the US is tightening up, Canada is hosting a major international recruitment event to fill up high demand jobs like healthcare, manufacturing, tech, and media. This free event features direct employer interviews and immigration guidance, such that in 2 weeks you can get a work visa, and relocate to Canada. Note, it is fully backed by the Canadian government. This international recruitment event, is happening on March 20th to the 21st of 2026. So you can go in the comment section of our YouTube channel and find links to this event for those who are interested in finding opportunity to immigrate to Canada. Also note, it will be hosted online and offline in cities like Paris, Sao Paulo, and Manila, right? But you can join online via the link. Go to our description and find the link. Wally, what do you think about this?
This is fantastic news for everyone, every professional that is trying to move to Canada or move to a Western country. And one of the good things about Canada is that their immigration laws are very direct. They are very strict. Like, at least from what I understand so far, is in the United States, where you could possibly have a lot of people who don't have their documentation, but they're living and working here. I don't think that is the same thing in Canada. Like, most people need to have their correct documentation, whether you are applying for asylum or not. Everyone has documentation before they will be able to work. So, and that's something that is very good about Canada, that they have, like, their immigration process is very well laid out. Everyone can apply for multiple things. So I encourage you, if you're a professional, if you're looking for a country to move to, please take advantage of it. The United States also is still open. You have to pay. I mean, your employer has to pay $100,000. That's just it. But yeah, that's my take on it.
I mean, It's very interesting that Canada, is actually poaching, and attracting, H-1B visa, potentials to Canada, and also professionals actually to Canada, in those industries like that we mentioned, and even more because of the current climate in America. I mean, a lot of people who are in the H-1B lottery, they can't get it, they can't get the visa, they're looking for where to go. Canada is a really beautiful option right now. So people can take advantage of this international, recruitment fair they're having. And even beyond that, they have created fast track channels for people to be able to move into Canada, especially, professionals who have high in demand skills. So anyone who is out there looking for something like that, please check out the YouTube description. You'll find some information and you can follow it up from there. But let's pivot a bit to what's happening in the world right now. I know we've mentioned it at the opening of this part of conversation, but the reality is that America and Israel attack Iran, and they killed the leader of Iran this week, and as a result, the war has broken out in the world. Unfortunately, as we speak, more than 11 countries have been pulled into it. Europe, NATO is sending troops trying to support Cyprus. It's just a lot. Like, we can't go into it right now. Like, if we just go into that conversation, Wale, today's podcast would not end with that conversation. But just to let people know where it is at the moment is that more than 11 countries, going to 15 countries, are being pulled into the war already, and it is ballistic. The reality is, how does this affect some of the people who are trapped? The good news right now is that while some of Europe, a lot of countries in Europe, Germany, I think France, a lot of those countries have, sent planes. In UAE, for example, they were able to move some of their nationals away from some of those countries, especially UAE, Dubai, and the like. Even the US government actually have lifted a couple of people out of some certain high-risk environments and have moved them out of those countries. Some people have used land border to move farther away, away from the center of the world, to try to find flights to be able to reroute, out of Middle East to be able to come back to America and some part of Europe. The good news is that it's making progress. But Wale, because you and we've traveled, we know that it is a small percentage of people that are really able to move, to get out. A lot of people are not going to be able to really just get out, up and live their life and find a flight and just get out. It's really difficult. And so the impact is massive. There's a lot that's happening. And this has led to so many other things. Like, for instance, immigration and traveling right now, it is going to be screened. It's like coming to the US from any part of the countries that we've mentioned in the past that the Trump administration banned. Right now, it is even going to be more strenuous to come into the US, right? People from the Middle East cannot even come to the US. Even people with visa, they will probably not be able to make it to the US, because right now there's a lot of security threats outside and within the US. And we've seen an event in Texas where I don't have the full details of the story. A man from, I think he's a Senegalese or somebody from Africa. I don't want to mention the wrong country. And the claim is that in support of Iran, and he shot at two people or so, and I don't know, he's been killed and all that. And so there's a lot of security threats from left, right, and center. And so please, out there, watch your back, because I don't know what else to say. Just, there's a lot of concern, even for, those who are outside the country as immigrants, those who are inside the country. I'm talking about the US, for instance, we need to stay safe and be alert, to those in our environment.
Yes, unfortunately, this is one of the consequences of the war, where you have people who might not have been, who might start to find a reason to commit mass murder because of whatever is going on in Iran or in the Middle East. So these are, totally believe they are extremists. This is a time to be very vigilant about our environment, about who might not be thinking properly, who might be extreme in their views about what they say. The Texas shooter that you mentioned, there was a post that I saw online. Now, I'm not sure how real this is, but there was a post that the imam, he met an imam in New York. If he said, I think he was living in New York for a while then, before he moved to Texas. So, but there was an imam in New York where he befriended, and then until the imam started speaking positively about Israel, that was when he became very agitated and very extreme about his conversations with the imam. That imam is a religious, is a Muslim religious leaders, by the way, if you're not aware, usually like of a mosque somewhere. So, of course, the imam didn't think about it, that was something to report to the authorities, that this person might be an extremist. So now that it has happened, and more so, we should be observant of our environment, of people that may just go out there to start committing dangerous acts in the public. So please be careful. And if you're an immigrant, one of the biggest ways that this is going to affect you is even beyond those who are living or coming into the United States, or specifically those who are coming to the United States, there will be a lot of vigilance on those who are already in the United States. You do not want to put yourself in a situation where people, especially if you have nothing to hide, if you're not thinking about committing any kind of crime, or any kind of murder or anything like that in the name of whatever it is that is going on in the Middle East, then please be very careful about your actions, about your words. These are the kind of times that is very, very sensitive. It's going to be very sensitive for a lot of people, especially when this kind of thing is happening in the Middle East, and you now have someone here in the United States that is committing acts of committing mass murder on behalf of whoever it is in the United States. For me, that's one of the things I don't understand about religious fanaticism, where something that is completely not related to you, you are not going to benefit from it. You are not going to, as far as I'm concerned, now that I think about it a little bit, he might think that he's doing this on behalf of his God. So in that kind of case, those kind of cases do happen much more often and that we would want them to happen.
Wally, the next story, right, sounds almost unbelievable. A Russian immigrant named Dolly, living in New York, somehow managed to slip past a gate agent at United Airlines and board an international flight to Milan, Italy, without an ID and without a boarding pass. Even more shocking, she had already made it through TSA checkpoint before getting on the plane. But here's the wild part. This isn't the first time. Back in 2024, Dolly pulled off a similar stunt when she boarded a flight to Paris. Before authorities eventually caught her, she was sent back to the United States and even sent to spend some time in jail. So how does someone get through airport security, past TSA, and onto international flights twice without proper identification or a boarding pass? What does this say about airport security, immigration status, and the system at large?
Yes. Well, I am always amazed about stories like this and how they happen.
Same here, Wale.
Even stowaways, like, so this is one situation. There are stories of people who would go and climb through the aircraft wheel area and then somehow get to where the cargo is, and then will hide there from usually there's a story of, there are a few stories of people doing that from South America to America.
Latin America to Africa to Asia. People have done that to maybe come to the West or stuff like that.
Exactly. Yes. So many of them have died, by the way, but some do survive. How they survive, I have no idea, but some do survive.
But this is different.
But this is different. This one actually went through the airport. Went through security and went through the line that you have to queue. They have to scan your boarding pass before you get a seat. Even got a seat. Well, I think the good thing is that it looks like the plane was not full.
But when she got to Milan, it was at Milan airport that they had to send her back.
Yes, so that's exactly what I think. Once you get past the flight crew that actually checks the boarding pass, nobody checks you again. So that's the last security check that I actually do. So once you get past that, then everything is, you're good to go. Unless someone from the security, someone just flags you. I think the situation, however, what happened was just that the person who was attending, the staff who was scanning the boarding passes was attending to someone else. That was when she slipped by. And just that was the only video I saw, but I'm not sure. Now, the other thing I'm not sure about, how did she get past security? So
there was a video actually, but of how she got past the security, Wally. I saw the video online. It is crazy. I don't want to say, because I don't think there are not a lot of people, a lot of, for lack of another way to express it, right? There are not a lot of race, right, that can pull that kind of stunt. without being checked. Because the video showed her just walking past the checks and she wasn't called back. She wasn't stopped. She just walked past. Do you get?
She had a lot of confidence.
That's just to get past. And so that begs the question, why would the, agents just, because one of the agents looked at her walk past, like it was like this expression, you could tell the expression of where's your body past. She just walked past and, it's like, okay, you just moved on to the next person. I'm like, why would he do that? But, it begs the question about really, the level of, checks, that's happening at, the airports, even the counter, the flight, boarding check, because this person went past TSA security. And not to talk about even currently, I think they're trying to shut down the TSA pre-check, queue and all that for security reasons. I don't know, Wale, are you aware of that story?
Well, that's a different line entirely. The TSA pre-check is basically you do have to go through security check still, even if you have TSA pre-check. So
even if you have TSA check, you still have to go through the regular security line. So
yeah, but it's just faster. That's the only thing.
That's the only thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's just faster. You still have someone that has to verify that you actually have TSA pre-check. So you need documentation for that. Then once they verify that, then your security screening is a lot faster. So instead of you taking 30 minutes, 1 hour waiting in line trying to go through security, then with TSA pre-check, it will take you, if it's a 1 hour thing, maybe 20 minutes. Then if it's 30 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. The only difference that you are scanned faster. But this is not about that at all. This is more like she bypassed the whole security and just went in and just went to a flight and then boarded the flight. How she chose the flight, only God knows. How she chose which airport to use, only God knows. What time, how she chose the time, only God knows. But this is something, like you said, it's a it's a very big concern for security, especially if the person had been malicious or had a malicious intent to harm people or someone. So that is the kind of I would say the kind of grace that we have right now, that this person was just trying to board a plane to Europe. We don't know the reasons. We don't have the details yet, but she had no intention of harming anyone. So this is something that is very, very concerning. And this is something that I believe hopefully those who are in charge are going to take very seriously and ensure that this does not happen.
All right, then. To wrap up things today, we've got 2 wild stories you won't believe. The first one involves an illegal IT worker who was actually arrested inside a US border patrol facility. Yes, you heard that right. Talk about being in the wrong place at the absolute worst time. According to Customs and Border Protection, their vetting process revealed that this individual had overstayed a tourist visa and had been living in the United States illegally for years. But it didn't stop there. Record also shows that it shows a criminal history stretching back to more than 5 years. So the big question is, how in the world does someone manage to stay under the radar for so long and ended up getting caught inside border patrol facility of all places? Like
when I hear about stories like this, it always amazes me. The capability that humans have.
Confidence.
Yes, there's confidence, but there's some sort of bravado about it. There's some just I'm still going to do this and I don't expect any consequences from it. I don't understand how people think like that. If you have that kind of rap sheet and you are, especially in this kind of political environment where the administration is actually enforcing removals, you still decide, oh yeah, I have a job. I have to go and get my job done, and you still go, and it's like the way I'm thinking about it is like you've been conditioned to think that tigers or lions are cute. Then you now want to go and pet it.
Go and grab. Go and pet it.
There have actually been people like that has been killed.
Yeah.
When they try to do that.
I've seen clips on YouTube like that. Yeah,
that is something. That's the way I'm thinking about it. That you have been he's been conditioned in his mind because he's been doing this for so long. that people have just missed it completely. The border patrol officials have missed it completely until it was apprehended and deported. I hope that those who are the leaders who are responsible, whether it's the border patrol facility or if it's HSI or ICE or the Homeland Security Department itself, these are the kind of processes that should be reevaluated and ensured that even those who are working with ICE and don't have criminal records, because they are supposed, at least the campaign from the president, that they are going after the criminal illegal aliens. So these kinds of people, those that they should be looking out for, not just outside, but also within the department itself. So,
but
it is amazing.
Concerning. No, it is amazing. Yeah. But you know what? Something that's concerning. You know how when we look at job openings for federal, for the federal government or for federal contractors, especially for IT roles, security clearance is required. Exactly. So that begs the question, right? How is this guy working in IT? How is he able to work in IT for a federal contractor, obviously, that is in there in the lion's den, for lack of another word, to go and do some work. And and of course, when he got in there, the check is, especially with the current climate, they were able to, obviously did a deep dive and like, whoa, this guy is not even supposed to be here in the first place.
Yeah.
Not talk about the fact the guy has a job with a federal contractor. Then not talk about the fact that the guy needed security clearance to even be doing that job. And not talk about the fact that the guy was in there working on their, infrastructure. It is concerning. And so, I mean, I don't know what to say beyond the fact that, yes, it's enough to be concerned in terms of security and in terms of the fact that, proper checks need to be done realistically for the protection of, the American citizens and the country at large. But that's just scary at the end of the day. But then, that guy, he must be really confident of himself and for him to have done that. But moving on, right? The next story is over in Africa, which is our final story, specifically in Nigeria. There's a story that has come out. The US officials say Chinese nationals have been operating illegal rare earth mineral mining sites in the northern part of Nigeria. These minerals are incredibly valuable and critical for modern technology, for smartphones and for electric vehicles. And this has been going on for years. And Wale, you and I know that there's been endless conflict in the north. Conflict for some people is a ladder. Conflict for some people is a money-making machine. So there's the question of what is really happening in northern Nigeria, where there are mineral resources. It has been found and exposed by the US government that this is happening. Exploration is happening, exploitation is happening, and conflict is being sponsored.
Yeah, so remember last year, there was an attack against Christians that were simply worshiping, and the video got out on the internet, and that's when President Trump was able to get involved because a lot of people started to talk about it, and that's something that has actually been happening in Nigeria for a while now. But I can't even remember how long that's been happening.
Well, it's been happening for so long.
Yes. Initially, I didn't really understand why or how even the terrorists, the Boko Haram especially, how they were funded, how they're getting their weapons, who pays for those kinds of things. Like, it doesn't make sense. In an environment like Nigeria, it doesn't make sense that you have some funding and then you are operating in those areas. And mind you, they don't go to some specific states. They only go into only specific regions commit their crime. Of course, there are security issues, a lack of security thereof in those places where they actually commit their crime. I thought my initial thinking was it's just for religious purposes until we started to understand that no, there are actually illegal miners in the north that has been taking advantage of this situation, basically killing people so that they can take their land and exploit it. And for me, this is one of the biggest evils that any kind of human being can commit. You kill a bunch of people, and the rest of people, women and children, will be kidnapped. Especially the women are the ones that are kidnapped. And then the rest will have to leave the place because it's no longer secure. Now you have a mining line. evil on so many levels is what I'm seeing in the situation. And this is something that now the US are starting to understand, that the reason why this is happening is because of this illegal miners in Nigeria. And I don't understand how, personally, I'm very upset at how the Chinese government allows this kind of situation, this kind of things to continue to happen. And they try to claim some moral standing in the world. For me, this is something that is very upsetting, especially as a Nigerian. I really hope that this is something that can be dealt with as quickly as possible. And as Nigerians, we are generally peaceful people, especially from the trauma, after the trauma of the civil war. Like, we, generally speaking, like Nigerians don't want to engage in a large scale kind of violence any longer. So that's what these people are taking advantage of, basically. So I really hope that we can get to the bottom of this and deal with it as soon as possible. This is not a, I would say, a natural response, a natural dissatisfaction from the people. This is basically people with money taking advantage of people who are poor. They will give them, they will arm them, tell them they can do whatever as long as they secure the land.
Yeah, Wally, it's sad. I mean, when I saw that report, I was heartbroken as well because, growing up in Nigeria, I've always, it's a never-ending conflict, especially in the regions where we have so many different mineral resources. Because I did A-level geography, Wally, I know for a fact so many of the states in Nigeria have one form of mineral resource or the other. The country with the most, if not the most diverse mineral resource in Africa and even global in the world. And to see the country in the way, the way it is, and to see that some of these conflicts are definitely being sponsored. Because tell me how there's so much conflict in some of those regions where these Chinese companies or nationals are mining, and they are not affected by that. They're not affected by the conflict. Their business is going, and is going on, and they're just exploiting and, just going along with their business. And, the US government have exposed it. I hope that the Nigerian government has taken this seriously, because even with the collaboration of the coordinated attack on Boko Haram, on the terrorist group recently by the Trump administration, hopefully that the Nigerian government is really, really serious about working with the US government to kind of end that cycle of violence in the region, in Nigeria. Hopefully that this will come to an end and the country and the people can benefit from these resources. Because all we talk about in Nigeria, for the most part, Wally, is just Nigeria has so many resources, that are being used for like technology, for electrical, for battery building, lithium, like name them, gold. Like, we are not even talking about all of those resources in the country. The most everybody talks about is oil, because oil brings in the most foreign exchange. But there's nothing's been said about all coal, to name, I can't even start naming them, like lithium, like, there's gold, there's diamond, there's all of this in Nigeria, Wally. A lot of people don't even know that there's diamond in Nigeria. It might not be at the same quantity with some of the African countries who are known for that, but Nigeria has diamonds as well. Who knows about that? What is being done about that? So I'm happy that the US government was able to expose this. Eyes are being, questions are being asked, and hopefully that we'll see progress and the country can really benefit from its resources. That would be, my take on this. But this is all we have for you today. Whether you're heading to Canada for recruitment fair, or you're going to join the recruitment fair online, or maybe you're going to go through TSA check without your visas and your boarding pass, please be safe out there. Thank you.
Yes. Again, we'll leave all the links to our sources in the description. And please like, share, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
All right. Bye now.